guys, it's Robert Gardner with the Robert Gardner Wellness Podcast. I'm very excited to have Flissy Saucier, one of my favorite yoga teachers and colleagues in the yoga industry. Flissy, can you give people a little bit of information about you, maybe just a little bit of backstory, and also where they can contact you, either website or social media?
Hi, sure. So I am a yoga teacher, a belly dancer, and a personal trainer. I've been practicing yoga for about 20 years and teaching yoga for, I guess, about 12 years or so now. And if you want to see all of my stuff, you can go to movementwithflissy.com. And I also just wrote a book for yoga teachers, and the website for that is yogasequenциngsecrets.com. And you can find me on Facebook and Instagram and YouTube. My handle is Om
Nice. Really, really nice. So, Flissy, give me like a general update of what's been going on with you, and then what are you interested in talking about today?
So I feel like I spent a good amount of time frustrated with the yoga world at large, which I think is in some ways okay because I have cobbled together this job where I also teach and perform dance, and I also am a personal trainer. So, I'm not tied only to yoga for a job. I worked for Lifetime Fitness, which is a huge fitness club, for 8 years. And after I left there in 2018, 2017, I started to focus more on teaching one-on-one and working on mentoring yoga teachers and offering more online content, and just wrote a book. So that's kind of where I am right now.
Awesome. How did you feel about the book writing process?
It was pretty cool. I think I based this book, Yoga Sequencing Secrets, on an online course that I offered. And so it was fairly simple to get an outline together after I had already presented the content in a different way. So that I feel like the writing part was flowed pretty easily, and the process of self-publishing it was a little bit steeper of a learning curve.
Yeah. Did you have any problems like actually getting the text on the paper? Is writing a good skill for you?
Yeah, I was a humanities major. I went to a liberal arts college, so
Okay.
I like writing. So
So
the actual
everybody's a
writing
bit
process
different.
was
Yeah,
fun.
people will ask me if I ever have writer's block, and I'm like, do you ever think Robert didn't have anything to say?
Right. Yeah,
Yeah.
it's like I got
Yeah.
an opinion about something. I went to school not for writing, but I did a lot of writing because I was an art history major, and so I was, I did a lot of writing, and so the actual writing part was all right.
All right. Cool.
And I
So, what
hired
else?
an editor to help me finish it. So
Oh, good.
yeah,
Good. Yeah. I need people for grammar.
yeah.
Yeah. So what's going on with your teaching and your practice at the moment? You did Yoga Sequencing Secrets, the book, and then
Mhm.
there's yogasequencingsecrets.com, which is the website where there's like a course attached, I believe.
Yeah, so you can go to
Yeah.
that website, and it has links to where you can order the book, and also the online course version.
Nice.
Yeah.
And then what's going on for you like intellectually within like the yoga world at the moment? It sounded like from our brief interview before the podcast that you sort of, I don't know, you just moved beyond the Yoga Alliance. You're not so worried about regulatory agencies. You just went out and skewer your fans, which I'm a big fan of. And then, like, what's going on for you in that realm?
Well, I think in the last 2 years, there's been a big turnover in the staff at the Yoga Alliance, and they also did this big standards review project where they reevaluated how yoga schools operate and reevaluated like their ethical statement and all that kind of stuff. So, I mean, I feel like it has shifted in a slightly more useful direction, but I feel like it's also at the same time, like they've gone so long existing only as a registry with essentially no standards, like only the bare
Yeah.
minimum in terms of having an hourly requirement for the schools. Um, that kind of backpedaling and trying to put standards in there and act like a certifying agency, even though they are still not. Like, I kind of got to the point where I'm like, I can't even bother with this anymore. I don't feel like I want to keep up with all of the comings and goings in there. Like I've kept my registration current, and I do have a registered yoga school. I went through the whole process of writing a syllabus and submitting it and getting it approved, and like now I don't even feel like teaching it anymore. So it's I feel like it's a lot of um, busy work to keep involved in that organization with not any payout. Like
Yeah.
Yoga Alliance has not done anything for me except
Yeah.
for my 50% discount at Prana. That's about
Yeah.
it. So there's like they're not providing me a service as a teacher, so I don't see why I need to like hustle to invest in them. I need to hustle to invest in my students and hustle to um, help educate yoga teachers in the way that I find meaningful, whether or
Yeah.
not that's relevant to what the Yoga Alliance says is meaningful or not.
Yep. It's the same thing. I mean, massage has licensure in most states in the US. The licensure is variable and somewhat different state to state to state. And essentially what I'm doing is like I teach online. And when you teach online and get somebody, messaging you from Mauritius, which is off the coast of Madagascar, you go, ooh, yeah, this is
Mhm.
not what people think it is. Like, I don't know what the law is in Mauritius, and I'm not going to do one Google search. It's like, I keep trying to express this, but I think in my industry specifically, amongst massage therapists, they're only looking at this little myopic view of like, okay, they're in Baltimore, they work in Baltimore, they're not going outside of Maryland. They don't understand what happens when I try to go to Virginia and I try to go to Colorado and I try to go to Seattle. And you're hopping these state borders and everybody's got new rules and regulations. And it's like, wait, hold on. Like, I can teach online worldwide and I'm charging pennies on the dollar for like top notch education. I'm like, okay, let me try to focus. Just go to the internet, put out more information, continue teaching, and draw an audience because the regulatory environment, much like you described the Yoga Alliance, I feel like in some ways is completely useless. I don't get a lot of fans in an industry that's licensed by saying that, but I don't see a lot coming from the licensure. I don't see the public being protected. I don't see massage therapists getting advantage. It's a big money making racket from state to state.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Uh,
So in your teaching and in the fact that I've seen some of the progression in your business, even though I haven't been able to be like a hardcore fan where I'm following every detail of what you put out. Um, do you have any idea of like where you're going in the future? Like what's kind of bubbling up for you as you deal with yoga sequencing secrets on yoga sequencing secrets? I know you've had to practice that like a
I
mudra.
did, and I'm
It's like
like, this is actually kind of hard to say. It seems like it would be
yeah,
catchy, but getting it out is it. Yeah.
yeah. Where are you going? Are you developing more online curriculum? Are you trying to travel or what are you doing?
It'll be interesting to see the response the book gets. When um, I made it to fill a gap in what I saw in um, the yoga teaching realm. And so it's really like the first big thing that I've done outside of presenting things locally, really. And so I'm like, I don't know. Maybe I'll end up traveling and offering it as part of yoga teacher training modules, as intensives for teachers. And I definitely really enjoyed the process of writing a book, and I intend to do another one. So right now, I'm kind of thinking about whether I want to continue on the path where I am writing books for yoga teachers, or if I want to shift gears a little bit and present material directly for practitioners.
Yep.
Probably I'll do both eventually, but I'm not sure, which thing I'm going to do next.
Yeah. Teaching massage therapists is a different skill. And I've had lots of conversations with Trent behind the scenes about why don't we just go direct to the public, and I show Joe the plumber and Mary the soccer mom in Ohio like how to work on their own back pain. Like
Mm-hmm.
I can do that in 30 minutes. Like this
Mm-hmm.
is pretty revelatory information that I think would almost be more of a draw for the general public than it is for therapists, just because of the way they're thinking about things.
Sure. The only challenge, I see with that is it's also like a completely different audience. So you've already built up your a bit of an audience for massage therapists, and then you have to kind of go scout out and connect with new people, like completely different people than you're already reaching. So there's like a little bit of, I mean, in the business world, there's an uphill battle just about every direction you go. That's a new path to go to relate directly to your,
Well, we,
yeah.
we keep having these regulatory conversations, and I'd like to develop curriculum for the yoga community. And then people in the massage community are like, wait, you can't sell the yoga community the same information you're selling us. And I go, why?
Why not,
And they
right?
go, they don't have a license. And I'm like, I didn't say they were charging for it. Go fuck yourself. Like, get the fuck out of here. Like, you don't know how these people are using it. It's like massage therapists act like they own touch.
Mm-hmm.
This is the fundamental battle, and they don't understand. It's like, I'm selling information on the internet, and this is not bomb making. Like, this
Mm-hmm.
is, you know, it's like, here's a muscle, here's how you press on it. Okay, does that
Yeah.
feel better? Yay.
It's
Just
very,
very low
at the
impact.
heart of it, it's very simple. Yeah.
Yeah. So it's this thing where when it comes to information, I understand, packaging a course for the public or massage therapists or yoga teachers can take like a different shtick in a sense, could take like a slightly different path, but it's not that dissimilar.
Oh, yeah,
Yeah, you have to
the
build a
content's the same,
audience.
but it's just the marketing angle.
Sure.
It's reaching a new group of people. Yeah.
Sure. And in the end, what I do is I'm like, Robert, you're like a sardonic, you're like an asshole, you curse, you got all these things. And I'm like, well, just be a sardonic, cursing asshole all over the internet and draw your people.
Yeah, your people will find you.
It's a big bulk, like global distribution marketplace. You just have to find the people that resonate with you.
Mm-hmm. Yep,
Yeah.
exactly. And I think that is a thing where that's another skill for both teachers and massage therapists to learn, is like that's not something you're that either one comes naturally to most people, and two, that's taught in any kind of training.
Yeah. There's so many, I don't know, there's so many layers. KCK looks like on YouTube was saying direct to the public is what the world needs.
Oh, yeah,
And
awesome.
that that is the thing, like the gatekeepers. I have these conversations, and I know sometimes people maybe within a specific industry like massage don't get it. The internet is destroying education, and it's destroying the gatekeepers. So in other words, are people still learning? Yes, but it is less and less affordable and less an option to go to a 4-year university and fill a seat to get a degree for something you can't even get a job in specifically.
Yeah.
Information is increasingly democratized and global.
It's so awesome, and I think it's particularly awesome as an entrepreneur because um like all these skills that you might not get in a massage training or a yoga teacher training, or whatever field you're in, you can learn marketing skills, you can learn how to do things like make this podcast and
Yep.
write books and make video, like you can learn how to do all of that stuff, um, and create an entire job that never existed before.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, and that's the thing. It's the power of the internet.
Yeah.
Like if people understood just how large and game changing it is. When I talk to students, yoga teachers are a little bit better about social media production because people are clothed and they're doing things that are kind of physically appealing. stretching, mobilizing, maybe even contortion if you look at Instagram.
Definitely.
So massage industry is a little more apprehensive about massage video because, well, people are naked and privacy concerns. So I wind up in the situation where I'm encouraging students to make video content for social media. They don't really understand the vast reaching implications of me and my crew of colleagues making so much video content. It starts to change the public's conception of what massage is itself.
Mhm.
There's no barrier of entry at this point. Anybody can pick up a phone and use this technology. And I keep trying to express to students, the Protestant Reformation came about because of the printing press. Because when people got access to the Bible in their own language and started reading it, they went, "Hey, this doesn't look like what you guys are doing." The elites, the church. So the phone and its distribution of information, the technology is so vast. I'm like, this cell phone is going to dwarf anything that the Protestant Reformation ever did
Mhm.
exponentially. This is the most disruptive technology that has ever existed. It's going to get any smaller. Just a quick break.
Hey y'all, it's Trent Knox, podcast producer for the Robert Gardner Wellness Podcast. Thank you guys for tuning in. Looks like we got a new feature ad where we can see chat. I was wondering if it's going to actually work. Worked out. Cool. So we now have some classes listed. If you want to go over to rgwellness.store and look at the classes that we have up, I believe we have some of our Austin Advanced classes up, and we also have what was it again, Robert? What classes are up? Fort Smith, Arkansas, and then a couple of classes over it. That's interactive, or what is it again? Interactive? Or, yeah, so those classes are up on rgwellness.store, and if you want to take advantage of that, head on over to rgwellness.store. Back to Flissy and Robert in the studio.
And Flissy, can you introduce everybody to yourself again, really briefly, and just give them like where they can reach you, either social media or website?
Hey, I am Flissy Saucier, and you can find me at movementwithflissy.com, yogasequencingsecrets.com, and on Instagram and all the things at Enchantress is my handle.
Enchantress, I like that. So yeah, I just think the internet in some ways is just extremely disruptive technology. In my industry, they think, well, no, that could never happen because massage is done hands on. And I go, soothe, zeal, apps, like it's not the massage, like we're not at robots and strong AI yet that can give us massage, but like the stuff around the service and social media distribution, even to promote like a marketplace or a service, is just, it's like the Wild West. There's
Mm-hmm.
no, yeah, I mean, the internet, right?
Yep.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I think especially because it's such a big, wide internet world out there, it can be really, I think it can feel often like you're shouting out into the void as an entrepreneur. And we were talking a little bit about this before we hopped on the call that one of the important things is to be like really consistent about your messaging. And so if you're just like, oh, hey, like, I'm a massage therapist, and like it just ends there, like that doesn't, it doesn't connect with people. They may just be like, oh, that's cool. But it's so important to have a purpose to what you're doing and to communicate that clearly, and most importantly to be really consistent about it. You cannot just say your thing one time. You have to say it like repeatedly, all like multiple times a week in different formats, and explain it in different ways and show people over and over again what it is that you're offering. It takes there's so much noise out there that you have to just be really persistent about it.
I think much like this conversation, we do the podcast. The podcast is a chance to network with you again, Flissy, because I may not have spoken to you in 6 months. but we get a chance to reconnect, network. It leads to other business leanings, arrangements. And I go, Flissy, listen, I'm going to share a link to yogasequencingsecrets.com and my email list, which gives you more exposure. And then this is on YouTube. So it's like me promoting you, promotes me. I think what people are missing sometimes when it feels like you're shouting into the void is you absolutely have to actually communicate with the fans. So, in my experience, 90% of the people just watch. And that's
Mm-hmm.
great. I love it if you watch my stuff. But 5% on either end of the extreme comment. These people hate it and these people love it. And I talk to these people and they're like, I hate this. And I'm on YouTube and I go, well, what do you hate, Gene?
Mm-hmm.
And then these people love it. And I'm like, hey, thank you so much for liking my stuff. Is there anything I can do for you? Because now I'm actually talking to them. The
Right.
networking process when it comes to social media, I think people look at it as media and they're not focusing on the fact that it's social.
Sure.
People want me to shake their hands online. Like I know that people write and they go, great technique, sir. And I go, oh, thank you so much. If there's anything you'd like to see in the future via video, let us know.
Yeah.
Because you're trying to get more feedback from your fans to be able to feed them. Because I certainly like when this group of people is larger than this group of people.
Right. I mean, I think, both sides help you get seen, but, it's definitely nice to hear good things. And the relationship building is such an important part, not just with fans, but again, like you said, with colleagues and colleagues that are like just slightly sideways of what you're doing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, we did a podcast yesterday with someone who was in the hip hop community. G G is here in Austin, runs the Austin Hip Hop Awards, and it was really interesting to start to reach out to other industries and have conversation about music and arts and music distribution, which has of course been affected substantially by the internet and digital distribution. And for him to start to work with me and see like the parallels and go, man, this massage therapist is interviewing a hip hop guy. But it's the business part. The
Sure.
business part of what you're doing, what G is doing, what I'm doing is not that different.
Mm-hmm.
We're just trying to provide a product or a service to our customers, and you're trying to send out a big footprint online to be able to draw more people into your funnel, so to speak.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
I like people who like what I'm doing. And I like when the people who don't like what I'm doing are really loud, really noisy, and complain about me all over the internet. So I'm like, what part of me helping people do you not like? Like what is that? Why does that get under your skin? Um, when it comes to your business, I've seen some of the development in the past years where you're developing your own, I think, online persona. You're developing some online training, some supplementation. Can you talk a little bit about that process? And was that difficult for you to do?
It was definitely a thing that I had to learn. I am in real life a pretty shy and introverted person. I'm a real homebody and I like a lot of quiet. And so it was like, I think being a dancer actually helped me in creating a online persona because it's a very like even though I'm very authentic about what I have to say and what I'm sharing, it is still a bit of a performance to go out and think about, okay, I'm going to have some photos done to illustrate what I'm like as a yoga teacher. So what does that look like? How do I communicate? I'm friendly. These are simple postures. Everyone is welcome. What does it look like in a photo? What do I wear? What environment does it look like? And that part of the process I think is fun for me because it's creative. But the learning how to perform in social media was definitely a thing that I had to learn. And I still sometimes I'm like, I'm not quite sure if I'm doing this right or if I'm connecting with the right people. Or I'm not totally confident in the direction that I'm going, but I don't know. It's been kind of fun. I think it's always it's a new skill to learn.
Yeah. I I've taken great pride at pressing a button on a camera or my phone and recording all of my mistakes and then watching my business grow.
Yeah.
And if anything, your mistakes or misdeeds, or you speak into camera and you fumble your words,
Right.
actually humanizes your brand. It
Sure.
actually makes you more approachable. Being able to be extremely, heartfelt and resonant, to be able to put out your message to people, to communicate with them, I think it's ongoing practice. When people say, when I encourage them to make video and they say, well, I don't know how to talk to the camera. And I'm like, talk to your friends. That's all
Hmm.
you're doing. You're just looking at this little lens and you're saying, hey, you're my friends. What's going on? What are you dealing with? What can I help you with? To me, it's not that different in how it feels from an
Yeah.
in-person networking event where I meet Rhonda and I say, hey, Rhonda, how are you? Like, you shake hands, maybe you exchange business cards and you go, Rhonda, listen, what industry are you dealing with?
Hmm.
I'm getting in from, I'm like, okay, cool. You're in the social media world. Like, is there anything I can help you with? Which is almost always what I deal with business people. I like working with entrepreneurs like us, people with good ideas, but maybe
Hmm.
limited budgets or reach. And it's like, how do I help Flissy boost the signal on what she's teaching? How do we
Hmm.
build businesses that actually help each other and support small business?
Hmm. Yeah.
The power of digital distribution, being able to make a phone call, get somebody on a podcast, distribute on a larger scale. I know they understand it in hip hop. I don't think they completely understand it in my community specifically.
Hmm.
Yoga maybe more so, but I also think within yoga it's kind of like there's sort of elite teachers like maybe Kino McGregor or stuff like that, and then there's a lot of us down here that are maybe lesser known.
Yeah, and I feel like that system is changing a little bit, and particularly because there's been so many scandals in the yoga realm where gurus are being taken down from their pedestals, which I think is definitely a good thing. Um, and I mean, it's so weird too because I feel like um, there are also like two different jobs. Like you've got like the yoga celebrities that are traveling and teaching and doing conferences and stuff. And then you have like the normal yoga people that are running around teaching 20 classes a week for like pennies, basically. And
Yeah.
it's, you can figure out like, where do I fit in that? Or you can do something like, I don't want to be doing either one of those things. So what does that look like?
And well, that's you.
Right. That
That's
would be
you
me.
in America. And here's the thing. That's the point at which when I talk to a lot of massage students, because that's my primary bread and butter at this point, I'm like, guys, what do you want to do?
Yeah.
Let's help you figure out how to do that. My path is not yours. Like, maybe you don't want to go into education. Maybe you just want to have a full practice and work on your own. Um, I think you have more potential to create the thing that you want. And like for you, Flissy, what is that? What do you want to do?
Yeah, I think I am still like within the yoga realm. I'm definitely still figuring it out.
Yeah.
I definitely enjoy most working one on one with people to help them develop individualized practices. That's really my main thing.
Yeah.
And so, what that looks like in terms of teaching yoga teachers is to also empower yoga teachers to do that. So, um, it's mentoring yoga teachers and providing resources with them for them to help them teach students to do individualized practice rather than just rolling in 6 times a week to take a vinyasa class. Like that's fun for a little while, but like that's not sustainable.
Yeah. Quick break.
Hey y'all, it's Trent Knox, podcast producer for the Robert Gardner Wellness Podcast. Hello everybody, thank you for tuning in. Again, Robert Gardner Wellness is currently giving a free trial for the Reboot Insiders Club. If you go to rgwellness.store/free trial, you can take advantage of that 30 days free for new users, 400 plus hours of video content and accompanying written material. Again, rgwellness.store/free trial to take advantage of that. Back to Flissy and Robert in the studio.
Flissy, I think because of global exchange of information and data, and because we're more mobile than ever, you can fly places, you can live stream in, we have more options to be able to create that than ever. Likely, what I would recommend, just very briefly, to make it clear for people watching at home who have a certain dream about their business, is you just turn on the phone or the camera and you record the stuff that you're already doing. So instead of just teaching that one yoga teacher, that one student at a time, I now want you to do this and record it, and
Sure.
then start disseminating that information to draw more people who look like this person you're working with. This now becomes supplementary, education to what you're already doing. And I think something interesting happens when you get to see your work from the outside. Like when you saw your book, like how did you feel?
It's pretty exciting. I got it right here. Like,
Yeah,
oh, it's like
yeah,
it's an actual thing.
yeah. Like you
Yeah.
feel like, wow, I created this thing. And the online content, even if it's just social media for free, you get a chance to self-reflect and kind of tweak your message and tweak your
Yeah.
verbiage and repeat it in various ways to like draw people into your story. There's so much of it with social media that I think of specifically, it's just connection.
Yeah.
If I could just get people to connect with my message, whatever that is, to have like a heartfelt resonance with the information that you're sharing, it makes it much, much easier to lead to one, a closer relationship with that student, and then two, potential sales down the road.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I think like this is another skill that dancers have that entrepreneurs can learn from. Is like, I mean, videoing dance practice is an important part of learning and making corrections about what you're doing. And the skill of being able to like look at yourself and to be like, okay, well, this movement could be clearer. This could have more impact somehow. The skill of being able to do that and not get like, ooh, I just can't stand to watch myself, or this just looks stupid, or whatever, to just like have a look at your stuff in a sort of neutral way and analyze it in a way that you can grow is a really um, it's a good skill to develop, because then you can continue to clarify what you're saying and to just make better content over time.
Bodies, dysmorphia, and sorts of like body shame. People are like, Robert, don't you get worried that people are going to call you fat? And I'm like, no, they call me fat. Like, I just I just like gain weight, lose weight, document my life essentially, and go, okay, like listen, like I work with people who have shame about their bodies because I'm touching them. They do not love themselves. Like I have to deal with that stuff myself. And it's like I love myself enough to know that my body is going to change. I'm going to age, get wrinkly, and I do the best I can with what I got. That's the message. Yeah. Like
Yeah.
I'm sure you encounter tons of that in your industry as well.
Oh, for sure, both in yoga and dance. And it's I think it's an important um, thing to do what you can to change the attitudes about, to just like, everyone deserves to exist in the world. Everyone deserves to have a satisfying movement practice, and you have to show people that by doing it yourself and by including all sorts of people in your practice.
Yeah. I added a little bit of yoga content to our subscription vault, and I haven't had a really active practice recently. I've been inordinately busy, and I went into my studio, hooked up the microphone, pressed the button on a camera, and I'm like, "Hey, I'm Robert. Like, I'm gonna do some yoga now." Like, and I made sure it was just as like awkward and weird,
Uh-huh.
even from like a skilled teacher's perspective,
Right.
because well, I'm rusty. like I haven't done in a while. And then people's conception, because I'm working with massage therapists, they have a different conception sometimes about what they think yoga is.
Mm.
And then after the footage was released, a couple of weeks later, I heard from one of the students, and they said, "Whoa, I watched that yoga thing you put in there, and it's like, it looked like anybody could do that." And I
Yeah.
go, "What do you think?" Because I have to go, "Oh man, like, what do you guys think yoga is? Do you think it's
Yeah.
just power of vinyasa?" It's like that's
I mean,
not.
that's
Yeah,
what's being sold. That's the mainstream. Yeah.
yeah,
And so, I mean, I'm working hard at that too because I'm like, really simple postures. Anyone can do them. You can do them in a chair. Like, it doesn't have to be fancy. In fact, the less fancy it is, probably the better it really is for you.
Oh, it's so hard. It's so hard to teach. It's like you spend 20 years working at mastering yoga, teaching yoga to go, well, why don't
Oh,
we just sit here together? Why don't we just sit here together comfortably and breathe?
right. Yeah. And I'm like,
It's
I
like,
feel like it took me less time than most people to learn that, but still, I feel like it took me longer than it should have.
sure. I
Yeah.
mean, it's an interesting skill. Like when
Yeah.
people start to if they start to so this happens within time massage, they're like, well, what is time massage? And then yoga, and they're like, well, what is yoga? And we'd have these conversations, and I'm like, I mean, for me, I'd go, yoga is moving and breathing with awareness.
Yeah.
And they're like, what?
Yeah.
It's like, it in some ways it's this refining process. Yoga is not limited to my mat, to my blocks, to my bolsters, straps, props, a strap wall, or whatever. Yoga, if you practice hatha yoga, eventually you take it with you in Austin traffic.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm like, well, I don't know. So is Austin traffic worse than DC?
Mm, different scale,
Different kind. Different
different
kind.
scale.
Yeah.
And in DC, you can get cursed out in new languages.
Yeah, it's true. Yeah.
Yeah. So, as you continue your educational, like teaching process, do you have any new ventures that you're working towards? So we talked about like your book, yoga sequencing secrets.com,
Yeah.
book goes along with that, and the online training. Hey, I want to promote your stuff. And then in addition, like, are you working on new things? Like you talked about potentially maybe working towards like working with the public. Like, are there specific projects that you're excited about?
Um, I mean, I think I'm still kind of like riding the high of finishing that book and percolating on that for a little while in the yoga realm. And so what I've noticed in my business is like sometimes there's like an ebb and flow to it because I'm also a dancer and personal trainer. So um, while the yoga stuff is sort of like marinating on what's going to happen next, I am um, building some new stuff in my yoga and my belly dance world. So I just started a new belly dance troupe, and we are working on creating a bunch of dances. So we're going to be performing like a special showcase in June. So it's a collaborative troupe. So I'm in like making art mode right now for that.
Nice.
So it's interesting. It's like there are a lot of similarities between those two.
Said that last part again. My phone cut out for a second.
Yeah, it's just it's interesting because there are a lot of similarities between those two businesses, um, and also some differences. So there's like the performative element of belly dance that is not really there in yoga.
Yeah. Oh, so many different fields. Like we connect on the yoga angle, and then you diverge for me like in the dance realm. It's so interesting to compare and like cross promote across industries and see like the things that people are involved and engaged in.
Yeah. So it's a little bit different and creative in a different way.
Are you working on any more online training? I know you're still riding the high from
Um,
the book coming out.
no, not right now.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then
Um,
are you more interested in developing like in-person trainings or more like online?
I think it depends. So I feel like actually right now I'm interested, more drawn to doing more writing, and the writing might lead to more trainings. So I think my next step is probably going to do the writing part first,
Yeah.
and then take it to training.
Yeah, my first thought is we're trying to eventually this year file a new trademark. And then if I get the trademark, the goal is to apply at the Esalen Institute to do like a month long intensive.
Uh-huh.
um, to bring people in and sort of crash course in what I'm teaching. But when I have conversations with educators like you, it's like I want to roll other educators into the training program to kind
Mm-hmm.
of diversify the offerings and give different perspectives. I like that multidisciplinary approach,
Mm-hmm.
and being at Esalen was just like, well, yeah, this is what you do, right? And it's like, well, yeah, here at Esalen, this is what we do, but the rest of the world is going, wait, no, we have all these segmented boxes that are nice, easy, and convenient. Um, Being able to educate in a different way to sort of crack open students' preconceived notions, like for instance, just the connection between what's the difference between yoga and dance. Because to other people, those are two different disciplines, and I'm like,
Yeah, it really depends, but there's definitely overlap. And
yeah,
yeah, especially like in the last year I got personal training certification too. And so there are some things that are just applicable to just being in a body, like, and for massage too, like, you have a body, you live in you live in it, and so that means that you have to take care of it by like being creative. You have to take care of it by developing like that mind body awareness. You have to take care of it by getting yourself stronger and addressing imbalances through like exercise. And then you also have to like reveal your blind spots and heal yourself by having someone else work on it.
yeah. Collaborative. I'm a little bit more like you, where I'm a homebody, but it's interesting in the fact that I really care about like comments on social media posts, and then I also simultaneously don't care about comments on social media posts. Like I pay attention to them and I go, okay, does this person have perspective? No. Next,
Right.
and then I go, oh, okay, listen. So they wanted to see this. Okay, yeah, no, that makes sense. Yeah, they wanted to see something visually they couldn't quite make out. We'll improve that in the next video.
Hmm.
Um, I don't want to let other people's opinions influence where my business goes. I always go back to my fans and go, how do I feed them?
Hmm.
If I'm Flissy and I'm writing the new book, I'm like, what do the fans want? What do
Hmm.
my students want? What do my colleagues want? What does the public want? I certainly don't listen to my haters or detractors online for information about where to go. In fact, the more they dislike it, I go, ooh, this is good new training. Let's keep going back into this.
Yeah, and I think like for me, I also see just sort of what is like what's happening in the yoga scene in general, like what is the group thing that's happening, and usually like whatever that is, like I'm not interested in. Um, and whatever that is, there's usually like there's something missing in there that people aren't seeing, and that's something where I think people who are creative or have a new perspective really can serve the community at large by like shaking people out of whatever is the pattern.
Yeah. I don't spend a lot of time telling people what I think their yoga practice should be like. Yoga, as you well know, is inordinately diverse. It is just, it's got so much depth. Your practice is going to change throughout your lifetime. And I think it's good that your practice changed throughout your lifetime. Trying to tell other people that drunken yoga isn't yoga is like So?
Yeah, like,
I
I
don't,
mean, I have definitely, I'm like, I would be real with you. I've spent my fair share of time getting like spun up about stuff like that. I mean, like, this is garbage. But then at
yeah.
some point, I got tired of myself. Like, I'm like, well, just let them do that. Whatever, it's fine. But like that shouldn't impact what you're doing. Like, let people do whatever. And then if you see something that is you know, yeah, it's like let it go and like do the thing that's important to you.
Do good stuff and draw your people.
Yeah, yeah, that's pretty much
Well,
all there is to it, right?
the students in classes, and I'm like, well, guys, what do you want to do? And they're like, well, I don't, So for me, for instance, yoga, I think, has been a little bit better at branding and like differentiating. We know there's vinyasa, hot vinyasa. There used to be Bikram. Bikram is now kind of gone. There's like just different styles. There's a Iyengar, Ashtanga. Massage hasn't as much done that in the public sphere. Massage therapists know of different modalities, but the general public doesn't really know much except hot stone or deep tissue. So trying to get therapists to understand that they could build a niche practice in something that's specific. So I've got a class coming up in abdominal massage. And the abdominal massage, so Flissy, I was completely blown away when I started using it consistently the last 2 or 3 years. Women would come in, I'd have conversations with women, and I wouldn't think to ask them this, but I'd work on someone, and then the woman would report to me a week later. She's like, "What did you do?" And I'm like, "Oh, are you okay?" And they're like, "Yeah, my menstrual cycle was like the easiest cycle I've ever had. I usually have like pretty severe like menstrual pain." And I
Mm-hmm.
go, "Oh." Because I didn't think at that time to ask about that because that wasn't
Right.
necessarily something I thought I could address. But doing the abdominopelvic work, women were getting relief for severe menstrual cramps. At that point, I knew I could build an entire practice that is just focused on abdominal massage in Austin, Texas. I
Mm-hmm.
could have a line of women with severe menstrual cramps, and I'm like, ladies, please, you have to come teach me about this menstrual cycle thing. Let's work on it. you know but in my industry currently, I don't see that level of differentiation. There's not as much niche specialties, and what I'm trying to get colleagues and students to understand is that they can focus on their particular area that they are most interested in, and the way that you are trying to do those one-on-one trainings, working with students and colleagues to try to transform their yoga practice.
Yeah, and I mean, just as a recipient of massage, like even when I am talking with massage therapists, I'm like, oh, what do you specialize in? Do you have? And people are like, massage. I'm like, you don't have like, you don't have it like a modality that you use or clientele you like to work with. Like people, most of the massage therapists I've spoken to don't have an answer to that question. I'm like, why not? Like,
Well,
yeah.
but the thing is, I think that the differentiation, the specialization in my industry is not large enough, is not broad enough, is
Mm,
not specialized enough for therapists to be able to understand those niche markets. That's what I
mm-hmm.
keep pushing, and then continue to, because the thing is, I have this stance with students. I love what I do, and I'll continue to teach that, but I don't ever try to make the student conform. You have to do it
Mm-hmm.
my. I'm like, no, 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 no. Here's the general guidelines and principles of this abdominal work I'm going to share with you. It's going to be wildly different on client to client because they're going to respond to it differently. They have different bodies, different digestive health issues, whatever. I don't want you to be a mini me. I want you to be you. I want you to develop your practice, and you can add, okay, maybe you don't do full abdominal sessions. Maybe you just add little 15 minutes in here or there when people are having issue. Awesome.
Mm-hmm.
But differentiate and make your practice stand out in a mass marketplace. Just a quick break. Hey guys, it's Robert Gardner, and we have workbooks and DVDs, both in physical and digital form, downloaded from my website or shipped to you in the mail. If you're in the continental United States, you can purchase these materials a la carte or as a complete set of 700 pages of sequence manuals and 9 DVDs of core content. It is both table and mat and goes over some basic sequences you can use with clients to really transform your practice and help clients with chronic pain specifically. You can find that at robertgardnerwellness.com, in addition to our subscription service, which has about 450 hours of vault bulk unedited raw footage to transform your practice. That is free for your first month. And again, you can find those workbooks, DVDs, and subscription service at robertgardnerwellness.com. So, Flissy, where were we at?
You were talking about abdominal massage.
Flissy, you can reintroduce yourself, meaning your name, and then also where we can find you, and we'll go right back into what we were discussing.
Yeah, so my name is Flissy Saucier. I'm a yoga teacher, a belly dancer, and personal trainer in Columbia, Maryland. You can find all my stuff at yogawithflissy.com. I have a new book for yoga teachers, and you can find details about that at yogasequencingsecrets.com. It comes out on January 21st. And you can find me on Instagram at omchantress.
Nice. So, niche markets and differentiation. I think that my industry amongst massage therapists is just not as well developed yet. I
Mm-hmm.
suspect that it's coming. So, for instance, yoga started in America. How many years did it take until it really started to specialize?
I mean, it's hard to say. I mean, I think like probably, honestly, I would say probably in the last 40 years is when it's really like fractured into many different approaches.
Yeah, it's taken nuance as the marketplace is developed, and massage as it's currently practiced, even though it's an ancient, practice, is only from a regulatory standpoint has only been cooking for the last 40 or so years in my
Mm-hmm. So
experience.
about the same, yeah.
Yeah.
And I think, I still run into a lot of people that have, I guess I run into this in yoga as well, at people that have like some negative perception or some incomplete perception about what massage can do for them. And I find the same for yoga.
Education.
Yeah,
I
it's a big
telling
deal.
the
Yeah.
therapists, yeah, if the therapist, well, I don't like how the public looks at massage. I'm like, take out your phone, make
And show
a
them.
video, show
Yeah.
them what it does, and then
Right.
they go, "Oh, but that's work."
Yeah, it is a lot of work. I mean, but it's like you, it's your job now. Like I think maybe a lot of people don't realize when they go into this kind of industry that your job is not just doing the work that you're doing. Your job is running your own business and creating your brand.
Yep,
Yeah.
and that's a huge part.
Yeah.
I'm assuming yoga teachers are similar to massage therapists in the fact that they're artists. They can be wonderful teachers, educators. They can be absolutely wonderful at the practice and completely and utterly fail at the business.
Yeah, and I have encountered that particularly when working with yoga studios, is that people will open up physical locations because they have, an amazing heart for teaching and can be very skilled teachers, but like running a business, managing a physical space, managing other people, it's just like a mess.
Yeah, or can be. It also
It can,
depends.
yeah, it can be. I'm not saying that
I think,
every
yeah,
yoga studio.
teaching yoga is different than like running a yoga studio.
Yeah.
And some people might be great at both.
Yeah.
I don't have a brick and mortar for a reason, and I've purposely avoided that,
Same.
much to the confusion of a lot of my industry.
Yeah. Yeah.
So, in the coming year, meaning in 2020, do you have any like specific goals or the things that you're trying to accomplish this year?
Yeah, I mean, I finished Vini Yoga teacher training 2 years ago. And so this year I'm going back to train to be a Vini yoga therapist. So that is my next big educational project.
Is it Gary Craftsau?
Gary Craftsau.
Nice. Nice.
So that is continuing in my path and passion for working one-on-one directly with people to help use yoga as a tool to just help them feel better day to day. So that's the next big project. And I will also start writing another book, which I don't know what it is yet, but it will be it will be starting to be written, whatever it is. Yeah. So if you're listening and if you read Yoga Sequencing Secrets and you're feeling like, I would like this girl's perspective on something else, you can tell me what that is.
Yeah. There's just so many avenues. There's no barrier of entry anymore. So being able to put out blog posts, repurpose the blog posts. I think that Seth Godin does this. Seth Godin has a pretty active blog, and he would just take segments of the blog and then put it together, I think, as a book. It's very common these days for things like that to happen. There's so much depth because we have so much exposure via social media, phones, digital distribution. Like students will ask, this is what happens to me. The students will say, I want a shoulder course. And I'm like, oh God, shoulders? Like, are you out of your mind? Like that class is going to be 30 hours at least. And they're like, what? I'm like, guys, if I cover the shoulder joint, it's like more mobile than any other joint. I have to cover all the muscles across it. How this, the anatomical structures, the way people are injuring it. I got to talk about infraspinatus and its use, and just like on and on and on. And then I go, oh, okay, hold on, back off, Robert, back off. Okay, can you make a 6-hour course or a 12-hour course, something digestible for the shoulder? And I go, sure, but we're not done.
Right. Yeah.
Because I have this huge, broad, scope of what I'm trying to teach, and I think the confusion. Like I love BKS Iyengar, and I've never gone through a Iyengar training specifically, like his full like teacher training. So I know that it's very developed and it's very like regimented, like in pieces. What people don't see is the fact that he probably developed that over 60 years.
Right. Yeah.
It didn't look like that when it started.
Sure. Yeah.
All right. So, Flissy, as we close up, any parting words? And again, can you share your website and where people can contact you?
Sure. I guess, what I would say for people in the wellness industry is my advice is to be as in a learning mindset in every aspect of your business to get really great at whatever skill as a massage therapist or yoga teacher or whatever. And then to also learn the skills of building relationships with people online and running a business and really clarifying what it is that you have to say as a practitioner and teacher or whatever. You can find me at movementwithflissy.com and yogasequencingsecrets.com. That book's also available to pre-order on Amazon. You can save $5. Yeah, and it comes out on the 21st of January.
Very nice. Very nice. Very excited about that. And Flissy, if you have additional topics in the future that you want to discuss on the podcast, please let me know. I like doing these sometimes with great educators like you in a series so we can kind of dig into specifics and go into details that might be of interest to your audience and mine. Thank you so much for being on the podcast. I really appreciate it.
Sounds great. Thanks so much for having me.
You have a great day.
Thanks.